You touched on active shooter and workplace violence. Could you maybe talk a bit about that in a little bit more detail without mentioning any specifics?
So we employ a logic we call left of boom, and it comes from the military. So think of a timeline. And the timeline is today we're sitting here. Unfortunately, we know that in the future, there's going to be some sort of a boom. Is it a active threat that goes on? Is it a gas leak? So what you want to do is stay left on that timeline of the boom for as much of the time as you can. Use that time to be prepared. Use that time to train your team so they understand what to do. Run, hide, fight is what you'll hear oftentimes in the training related to active threat. But are they ready, willing, and able to do that? And then afterwards, are we prepared to help them come back together and make them whole again? These are scary situations. I'm a combat veteran. If I was in an active threat situation, I would be afraid. That is something you have to address. You can't just say, okay, it's over. Let's go back to work. That just doesn't work. Our human mind is not designed to do that. That's not healthy. So if we stay left of boom, get them ready, make sure the actions they take during the incident are the right ones, and then make sure we have aftercare, we find that we're in a lot better spot.
Well, what about you as the leader? We talk about this on the show a lot, the need to protect ourselves as safety and security leaders and professionals from burnout. We're human too. So how do you manage the stress that you're experiencing so you can show up for your team for the next one and the next one and the next?
Number one lesson is don't hold it in. There is not anybody that's so tough that they can just hold everything in and deal with it. We're not designed to see some of the things we see. That's not good. That's not normal. And we have to make sure we let it out. So I think that's the first thing. Don't hold it in. The other thing is one size doesn't fit all. I think you brought it up earlier. If Peter went through this and Peter was the responder and he dealt with all this stuff, let's talk to him about how he's feeling, what he needs. Get him the resources, because you may say, gosh, I'm okay now, but I need a break or I need to be out of that environment. Well, we have to give that grace. We have to give that grace to understand that's what Peter needs at this point. And, the old rub some dirt on it that we all got as kids, that does not apply here. And then the last thing I think is to be a team. If I'm going through a hard time and I've got my team in the right spot, then somebody can step in for me while I process and get through this, and vice versa. I have a leader that's that way. Look, I can step in. I got you, Peter. Let's get you over to the resource you need, or let's give you that space away or time away that you need. And we can't be afraid to do that.
20, 30 years ago, you probably didn't really even do this training, or maybe it was once a year when someone first started. Now it seems like you have to do a lot more. So
you're exactly
help make
right.
that real for the listener. Like, what does that mean? What kind of training do you do? What do you find most effective?
So we use what we call tell, show, do training. And so what we do is we have obviously the policies. Here's what we want. Here's how you do it. Here's how we get the store prepared. Here's the locks we have, the place we want you to go if this occurs. The actions that you have. It's the run, hide, fight. That's wonderful. But if I just walked you through that now, and then tomorrow there was an incident, you're not going to be as prepared as if I showed you. So we tell them, then we show them so that we have training and video. Sometimes we'll demonstrate depending on the area, but so they can see what does this really look like? Because a lot of us are visual learners. I know I am. But then kind of the coup de grace of all this is make them do it. Because if you put yourself through a drill and you understand and you physically walk that terrain or that area, you've seen what it's like. If I go through that door, here's what happens. Here's what's back there, all that sort of thing. Now we're mapping out in their brain what their response is. Because when these things happen, it's super stressful. And your brain starts to shut down when you go into stress. We all heard about fight or flight. There's also freeze. Well, what happens is your brain is starting to freeze up because it's going into that core to say, how am I going to survive this? So if we haven't gone through this, you find that people don't know what to do. If I just told them, they may forget it, or they may remember only part of it. So when we go tell, show, do, they can repeat that act and they can do it much better.